Yeah. Okay. So, I think everyone's story starts out the same. Like, I had been feeling great doing all these things. Mine's no different. But it was May 17th of 2021. And, I had been for quite a few weeks having bruises on my legs that just wouldn't go away. And I didn't remember bumping myself. And so it was a Monday morning, and I scheduled an appointment with my doctor, and she just did a normal like CBC, and she's like, I'm sure it's fine. You just said, like, I had just run in a 10K, she's like, I'm sure it's just, something weird, And so at like 4:30 that day, she called me and she was like, Beth, I need you to go to Ames right away. I live in Webster City. And she said, I have a spot for you in the emergency room, but you need to leave right now and you need to have a driver. And I was like, Kristen, you're silly. I was like, Haley has her first softball game tonight. She has her arts festival. But if you need me for more blood down there or something, I'll just go tomorrow morning. And then she said, you don't understand what I'm saying. Your platelets are critically low. And if you leave right now, you don't have to go by ambulance. And I was like, well, actually, my response was, you're shitting me, which very nice response. But I was just so
it's a normal response.
No, Kristen, I would know if something was wrong. I would know if I'm sick. I'm fine. And so went down to Ames to Mary Greeley that night. They kept me overnight to do a bone marrow biopsy the next morning. And my platelet numbers I think they were at 32 that first time, and then they just continued to drop from there. So started needing platelets. Those were my only numbers that were dropping, and then the rest of my blood work started dropping. So I was needing packed red blood cells as often as I was needing platelets. So I would get blood products a minimum of twice a week in Ames. And I'm one of those weird people that had to take a bunch of pre-meds, and they would have to put the drip on half speed or I was having reactions to it. So sometimes I would be getting 2 bags of platelets, 2 bags of blood, and so I would be receiving products for like 12 hours in a day. So those were long days, but I haven't needed any blood products since, I started engrafting on day 12, so probably from 3 weeks after my blood stem cell transplant. I didn't need any more blood products. After that, I started making my own blood, thanks to my donor, thanks to her stem cells. But, up until that point, I had needed over 70 blood transfusions.
Wow.
So, yeah. So on my first rebirthday and my second rebirthday, I hosted a blood drive in Webster City at my husband's business. So I plan to continue doing those each year just as a way to pay it forward. For the first time ever, I was on the receiving end of needing a lot of help. And so I'm just going to do my part to give everybody else opportunities that I had. There were a couple times where there was not my blood type, and so there were a couple times where I would have to stay in the hospital because it was not safe for me to leave the hospital, and they didn't have available blood for me. So until the donor, there were times where they were rushing. It was a different state. They would drive it right after harvest or whatever the process was, so that I could get it right away. And so that was another thing. I'd always heard of blood products, but I'm like, oh gosh, you don't hear much about it. So I'm sure it's taken care of, right? I'm sure there's plenty of big supply. I had never donated before, and none of my family or my close friends had either. So, just now I understand the need for it. And if I can help educate people so that, I can live in a world someday where people don't have to stay in the hospital to wait for their blood, I can't wait to be in that world. And I want to do my part to make sure that can happen. But yeah, that's my story.